Most local businesses think that YouTube is really only for big brands or maybe influencers. What if I told you that YouTube could actually be one of your most powerful marketing weapons as a small business? Today, I'm going to be sitting down with Jeremy Vest, who is a YouTube expert who knows a lot about this space. And he's going to be talking to us about how a small business, a local business like a plumber, a lawyer, a doctor, could actually utilize YouTube to drive more traffic and leads to their business. Now, I need to explain who Jeremy is for those of you that don't know, because I actually met him about 3 years ago as he was a keynote speaker at an SEO conference that I attended down in Texas. And he was up there talking about videos. Specifically, he was talking about short videos because they were kind of a new thing that YouTube was doing. And I sat there in the audience kind of thinking, my company really doesn't do anything on YouTube. At the time, we had, I think, 100 subscribers on our channel. We had maybe 3 really poorly produced videos. Please don't go back and watch them. And frankly, the only reason why we were even doing this today is because of Jeremy. I ended up hiring him and have been working with him for the last few years to help grow our own YouTube channel. And my goodness, I've learned a lot. So I felt it was appropriate to have him on here. And we're hoping to learn a lot today. Also, I want to make sure he answers all of your questions. So please do put them in the chat and we will prioritize them. We're also wanting to do some live audits. So for those of you that are brave enough to have your channel picked apart, make sure you fill in this form. And basically, we'll be looking through that and picking some YouTube channels for Jeremy to basically audit live. Jeremy, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything you want to say about yourself that I didn't mention?
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And you are definitely one of my favorite clients because you actually listen to stuff. That's I'm sure a lot of people can relate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not going to start on a rant about clients not listening to things. So let's start with like local businesses because that is the primary audience that our YouTube channel has. So as I was saying, YouTube is something that a local business can utilize. So how would a small business of that kind of nature utilize their YouTube channel to make it appear both in YouTube and on Google search?
So one thing I would say is it is true that 80% of traffic on YouTube is not even from North America, right? And then YouTube is a global platform. It's not necessarily a local platform. But if you think about it, the way people utilize YouTube, it's about answering questions. For example, best pizza near me or best pizza in New York City, or best place to live in Maryland, if you're a real estate agent. There are millions and millions of ways to answer people in a local perspective. Now, Google has a lot of SERPs, search engine result pages, and a lot of the real estate in Google SERPs related to videos and YouTube answers, where they actually take the exact like 34 seconds when you're answering someone's question. So from a local perspective, I would think local, like ice cream parlor near me type concept, or I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I would make videos, best place to get homemade ice cream in Chattanooga, Tennessee, things like that. And then YouTube is going to show up in Google. They both, number 1 and number 2 search engines for now, at least. AI is shaking up the market, of course. But I believe that it's not a myth. There are a lot of case studies, a lot of companies I've worked with. A former guest on this show, Roger Wakefield, sold his plumbing company because of his YouTube videos and the local lead generation that he was able to create from his platform.
That's actually a really solid point. So a lot of small businesses are eventually looking to, sell their business. How much do you think YouTube factors into like the equation when it comes to like how much their business is worth and how much they could potentially get for it? Have you seen kind of how YouTube can maybe impact acquisitions?
I have firsthand. In fact, one of my friends about 4 years ago, is called Stone Coat Countertops. And at the time, he didn't even have 1 million subscribers yet. And he sold his business for, I don't know, around $30 million. This is public knowledge. I'm not outing him. And he was able to create some of the best epoxy resin for countertops, like kitchen countertops. And he built this into a product. And then the entire website was based on, teaching people how to do epoxy. And then people were purchasing from him. And then a company within the industry of epoxy and home improvement purchased his entire company, his channel. And now they invest in real estate around the world. This is a very common thing that happens. If you are able to be the source of truth and answer things, then yes, you can absolutely be valuable. I would also argue, anytime we say the word YouTube today, we could be saying Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, or a LinkedIn video. Because quite honestly, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, what's a video worth? And I'd also just argue that, like, shopping, for example, is absolutely huge on TikTok now. So video marketing is what I'm going to try to focus on. YouTube is the platform we're specifically talking about. But a lot of these things can interchange. And I want everyone to think about Instagram and Facebook videos good too.
Now, I'll kind of play devil's advocate here, because one of the biggest struggles I think the average small business owner has, and I'm talking specifically like local businesses, is that you can't really like just target people in your local area. So let's pretend, for example, you are a dentist and you're in Miami, and there's probably like, hundreds of different dentists in Miami, because frankly, you walk around the corner, you get a new dentist. Like there's one literally everywhere. So how would a business like that justify all the time and effort that goes into YouTube, which we know is quite a lot, because it doesn't necessarily translate directly into lead gen. Like it's not going to necessarily result in him having 10 more patients next month walk through his door. So what would you say to that?
Well, that's a really good question, because I would actually argue the other side of that. I would argue that with, let's say, his average customer spends $5,000. So anyone gets through the door on average spends $5,000 in the lifetime value of a patient, right? In that case, I would actually flip that, and I would make it all about lead generation, and I would run ads that were within the zip code level specifically. And I would bring people into my remarketing campaigns and YouTube videos and website traffic to get those exact people looking at specific topics already on YouTube, like, dental implants. And then you can target people that have in that zip code, search for those terms, and then show your video. So one thing I would say is the paid side of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram is very powerful. And I'll give you an example. I have a software company, and what we're doing right now for 44 cents is we are only showing videos to viewers that have been to our competitors' websites in the last 30 days. So for example, VidIQ and TubeBuddy are two of our competitors for our software. If there's about 40 or 50 million users of those two softwares. So those 40 or 50 million people, if they're on YouTube and they visited those two websites in the last 30 days, they're probably going to end up seeing our ad. So what we've done, and then you obviously from a zip code perspective, you could, go down to the zip code so that you're getting the exact right people. And you can also target based on intent and target based on, the exact keywords and phrases that they've searched for. So you can actually pretty quickly find someone with dental problems based on their Google history and then serve them YouTube ads.
Now, in order to do an ad and be successful with it, would you say that you should have a successful YouTube channel? Like if I've got a channel that's, I don't know, I've got 100 subscribers, my videos have 15 views each, and I run an ad, is that ad going to perform well, or does it make a difference?
Man, you're always tough, aren't you, Joy?
Hmm.
So, a business plan is a business plan. A YouTube channel is a business. A Facebook page is a business. And, dollars and cents and things that make a business successful are very important, not just for YouTube, but for anything you do in business. So, understanding your value proposition and your purpose and your mission and your budget and your cost per acquisitions, all these things are really important. So, these don't go away when you add a new platform, so you still have to understand your budgets and things. If you don't have, I'll put it this way. If you were selling jumbo jets, you'd only need one view a year to make millions of dollars if you had the right view of someone that wanted to buy a jumbo jet.
Fair enough. We have some people submitting audits. I'm going to try and get our form changed because I just realized that when people submitted the form, it was asking them to put in their website. We actually need your YouTube channel URL. So there's a few of you. I'll list off a couple names here: Lowry Fencing, Wendell Ford Sales, and Foundation Solutions Group. And then also Winning Team, whoever they are. I need you guys just to resubmit that and put in the YouTube channel link. I'm going to start off with a personal injury lawyer. Jeremy, do you want to screen share, or do you want Richard to screen share, and then you can just look what's easier for you?
Either way, whatever's easier. If it's easier for Richard to pull up the YouTube channels, that's fine.
All right. Well, I am posting the link to the channel that we're about to look at in the public chat here. So it's for Cohen & Cohen personal injury law. So I believe they're a personal injury lawyer in, I'm going to say New York, I think. So if you want to pull that one up, while Jeremy's just doing that, and feel free to screen share when you got it ready, Jeremy, I will mention Roger Wakefield, that interview, if you guys haven't seen it. He was that plumber that Jeremy was referencing who actually sold his plumbing business. One really interesting thing that he said to me when I was interviewing him was that he actually started ranking for Plumber Dallas after he started getting traction on YouTube. And he wasn't doing any SEO, like any traditional type of SEO, which clearly works as well. He was only doing the YouTube side of things, and he started to see his rankings improve. So I do believe that there is a ranking signal that comes from YouTube, but I only think it's probable if you have a YouTube channel that's actually getting views. If you have a dead YouTube channel that is not performing well, I don't believe it has the same SEO benefit, which is why I think a lot of testing that people have done on this hasn't really worked, because they're doing it on channels that frankly have no views. All right, we got it up here.
Yeah, very cool. So one thing I want everyone to know, if you don't mind me saying this, Joy, is if people go to CreatorUnlock.com, they can get their free YouTube audit. In fact, the audit that you get in, I can just show you real quick. The audit that you get is actually pretty powerful. So I'm not going to get any deeper into that, but the audit in this is insanely powerful, and it's probably even as good, if not better, than what I'm going to do live right now. So when I'm looking at a YouTube channel, I am going to be looking at it from a business perspective first. So do I know what they do? There's a book called Primal Branding, and it's really all about the what and why. What is this channel about? And why does that matter to the viewers? So in this case, Cohen & Cohen, personal injury lawyers, is very clear. I know exactly what they do and why they do it, who they do it for, obviously people that were hurt. And so this is very clear. I will say, from a branding, trust, transference perspective, I would rather see lawyers' faces in the banner so that I can get trust and build nonverbal communication cues to understanding who they are. Also, without the whites of someone's eyes and the nonverbal communication cues, it's going to be really hard to get someone to trust a brand. especially lawyers, because it's about them. It's not necessarily about the firm. When I'm going to hire a lawyer, I want someone I can trust. Right now, the banner does not tell me about trust. It just shows it's a law firm. And the same for the videos. So right now, they do not seem to have any on-air personality videos. And I will be honest, with AI coming out and AI being able to make millions of videos a day, I think that you in YouTube is actually as important, if not more important than ever, because literally someone could go make 1,000,000 videos based on 1,000,000 questions people ask lawyers every day, literally, and upload them in months or years and kind of take over the market. So unfortunately, what AI is doing for small businesses is making them a lot more competitive and making it a lot harder to gain trust. So in this case, I would not have any of these types of videos, and I would have real lawyers maybe answering real questions and really authentic. One of my worst customers of all time was a Peabody award-winning photojournalist. Brilliant man, amazing, but he sounded so good on video that no one trusted him. Like he was that good, right? So you definitely want to put, I was working with the largest brand in the world on one of their hair product lines, which everyone knows. And the director of marketing this is probably 10 years ago. She was screaming at me and she was like, why does some 11-year-old in Denver have 3 billion views about beauty products and makeup and we have nothing? And I was like, well, because you're not an 11-year-old from Denver. You don't have a soul. You don't have a purpose. And a brand isn't necessarily going to relate as well as a person will. So obviously that brand does really good now. And they use, famous celebrities, Katy Perry type people to, help sell their brand messaging and positioning. But ultimately, I think it's people like Roger Wakefield, a redneck plumber from Texas, who has won the hearts and became the most famous plumber online. Cottonelle pays him over 6 figures to make a video for them now. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what actual true value can you give your viewers? Not how do we check a box and make a video that people will deal with. It's more, how do we make something watchable for the people we want to attract?
So I've got a couple follow-up questions. How do you pick topics? First of all, I'll start with that one. So like you're just starting on here. Let's say these guys want to start recording some videos. Obviously, they need a lawyer who's kind of personable and friendly. But where do they get a good idea of like what topics to make videos about?
So the first thing I actually do is in the YouTube search bar, I type in personal injury. And do you start seeing what's happening on the drop-down menu? It starts showing all the big interests and topics. What's really interesting about this is we've done a lot of research and we found that this is the most popular topics for what's happening right now. So let's just say personal injury law, and I'm going to say Dallas, Texas. So I basically put in personal injury law, Dallas, Texas. And I know, because I lived there 18 years, the Texas Hammer is a huge business.
Yep.
And it sounds like something that Dallas would have. So here's the trick. Now that I understand what the keywords are happening based on just typing in the search box, understanding the kind of universe of keywords that are popping up. And those words that are and phrases that are popping up are probably the most important terms, because YouTube and Google are the first and second largest search engines, so they share that data with each other. Now, once I do this, I'm going to filter by most viewed, or by view count rather, and then I can pretty easily start seeing who my competitors are. And by the way, on CreatorUnlock.com, the free audit, we actually tell you in that audit who your competitors are. And it's pretty cool, and what keywords you should use and things like that based on your niche. So all of a sudden, I'm going to take this data, and I'm a nerd, and I'm going to put this into a database. I'm going to, scrape this data or copy and paste this data, and I'm going to go find the top 100 most viewed videos in the world, specifically for personal injury lawyers in Dallas, Texas. Now I have this blueprint of what is, not what I want to be. So now I have a blueprint of the top performing most viewed videos in the world for a specific topic in a specific city. And I'm probably going to go duplicate my own versions of those 100 videos, because it's the most winning videos in the world for the niche that you're going after. You don't necessarily want to just copy what someone else has done. You want to put your own flavor to it. But what you do want to do is be part of videos that are getting viewed the most, subjects that do seem to be getting the most, coverage. And I think this is probably the single biggest problem that most small businesses have, is they don't know how to find this data. Fortunately, and this is actually one of the reasons I built the software I built, is we have this deep research tool that actually you just click one button, and in 2 minutes, all this data is there for you, because this stuff's kind of hard to figure out. But now you're a small business with a niche in a city, and you understand the top 100 most viewed videos in the world for what you do, and you can go have a plan to recreate them. That is, if you just did that, you're going to be better than 99% of your competitors.
I've got another one queued up here. I'm going to try and pick very different business types so that hopefully everybody watching this gets some value out of it. So I put it in the chat there, Jeremy, if you want to pull up the foundation solution group.
Sure.
And we'll pull that one up. While he's queuing that up, I do want to mention we do these webinars every month, and I realize there's a lot of tips that get given out, a lot of really awesome things from all the people that we have on. I don't expect everyone here to be able to take notes or watch every single video we've done. So we've actually compiled a list of all the top takeaways from various interviews that I've done in the last year, so that you can just download it and get all the best things that person said. So if you haven't watched all of our videos and haven't come every single month, you can feel free to download this. We'll put the QR code on the screen, and you can get a list of all the tips from every single guest that we've had on here. Also, if you have a question for Jeremy, please put it in the comments, because I will be sure to try and ask him as many of those as possible. All right, you got this one up and ready?
Yep, I sure do.
All right.
Do I need to share? Okay. Yeah. So click, watch, and like. This is how the YouTube algorithm really works. Clicking is the titles and thumbnails and previews. Watching is your scripts, your storytelling, video editing, on-air personality, and like is likes, comments, and shares. So really, that's the entire YouTube algorithm. If you can just think click, watch, like, I need to be able to get people to click on my titles and thumbnails. I need to get people to watch my videos longer than the competitors' videos. And I need to get people to actually interact with likes, comments, and shares. If you can think that way, 99% of the stuff on YouTube is pretty simple. On the banner for this particular video, I think it's really elegant and beautiful, but it doesn't show the what and why. It shows the what. The what is Foundation Solutions Group, but it doesn't actually give me a curiosity gap or a reason to explore more. It's like, I know they do foundations, but I don't know why that matters to me. So do they do foundations cheaper or better or faster? I don't really have a qualifying reason to fall in like with them quickly. For example, with Roger Wakefield, who's a plumber, his slogan is all things plumbing. And I actually really think that's a solid one. And the reason is that's what he does. He does all the things that are plumbing related. And even in this case, if it was all things about foundations and foundation repair, that's pretty solid. So it's not about your brand. In fact, your logo is on your icon. I would actually have a slogan that's less than 6 words long that explains the what and why. Again, book is called Primal Branding. And I would really explore within 2 seconds getting people to understand your true value. I think it's very important. The next thing I will say is this channel has done some pretty good stuff. 200 videos, almost 100 subscribers. Like, they're working really hard on video. I will say that the thumbnails could be more clickable. Thumbnails are not graphic design. They're not meant to be pretty. In fact, most graphic designers absolutely cannot stand to do thumbnails because they're kind of silly. And, I had to really convince Joy to let me do the silly thumbnails on her channel, or, teach her crew how to do them, because they're silly. But if you really go back to 80% of communications nonverbal, you're looking for emotions, you're looking for reasons to click, you're looking for color theory, like primal colors and prime colors, things like that. And what most thumbnails are missing is the reason to click, or an arrow to the thing that you want to explain, or a zoom in to that crack in the foundation that's going to cause a house to fall down. And it's not about graphic design, but it is about intentional design of getting someone to intentionally look at all the thumbnails on the right-hand side and choose yours over theirs. So color theory is important, reason to click, and things like that are really important. If the hero of the thumbnail is not about you, then you don't necessarily have to be in the thumbnail. So for these thumbnails, I would actually zoom into the thing you're talking about, not have a person at all, and make sure that people really understand that they're looking at a foundation with a problem. So I would zoom in, I would use arrows, but the person is not the hero of the thumbnail. It's the thing. So the thumbnails, in my opinion, can be a lot more intentionally clickable. The title, go ahead.
Oh, just before you move on, because I was like, I actually think it'd be really awesome for people to see what a good thumbnail looks like. Could you pull up Roger Wakefield's channel too as well?
Absolutely.
I know he does a phenomenal job, and he's in a like similar space, right? Both home services, super relevant. I will say that like the amount of ridiculousness that I've put up with thumbnails, you just have to be willing to do some things maybe a little outside of your comfort zone. Like my husband put me in a magician hat for one of our thumbnails, and I'm like, it looks ridiculous and stupid, but it did perform well as a video. So I don't know. Yeah, Rogers are great.
So I will say that Rogers are a little different in the fact that he does matter.
Yeah,
he's the most famous and recognizable plumber online in the world. And, as silly as it sounds, these are great thumbnails and these aren't. Well, that's weird, right? Because these seem absolutely fine. But here's where the science comes into play. For example, this arrow right here, real plumber reacts to lessons and tricks. Can you really learn plumbing in 5 days? This is just full of the curiosity gap, meaning that this image and this title have information that I'm curious about and I don't know what it means. So you actually almost never want to tell an entire story with a thumbnail. You want to get people intrigued. You don't want to reveal everything. This X in the background, 5 lies they tell you in trade school, and you see like desks, is pretty intriguing. There's, primary colors, red, blue, yellow, in all his thumbnails or most of his thumbnails. And, these thumbnails are really going to pop in the right-hand side. So when you click in a video, I have all kinds of weird stuff over here. But when you click in a video, you're going to see thumbnails on the right-hand side. And the actual job, this is about 70% of views come from suggested videos on the right-hand side. So let's just say 3/4 of the time, you are actually competing over here. And you can see how important that red shirt is in this case. That red shirt, Seth Godin is a marketer, and he says, always be the purple cow. Well, the purple cow is Roger's red shirt. And I don't think Roger's taken this shirt off in about 10 years because I've never seen it without it. But look at that mustache. Like, this is where AI is going to have a hard time competing with him because he's a real human. He has a beautiful mustache and a shiny red shirt, and he's recognizable. And, this thumbnail right here with the arrow and the pipe leaking and his disgusted face, that is a really amazing thumbnail. And if you look at, for example, some of Roger's best thumbnails, which not just because I made a lot of them, but like DIY toilet repair, we're showing you inside the toilet, which gives you a curiosity gap, and that video has 5.5 million views. So a thumbnail isn't good or bad because of the design. It's good or bad because of the clickability. And a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around that. They really do.
Yeah, that was really helpful. I've got a bunch more of YouTube channels too, so let me know. If you, I think you had one more thing to say about these guys, but I've got others.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest difference between you and your competitors are your titles, because, like, for example, say goodbye to mold, the power of soda blasting for crawl spaces. That's too long, and there's not really major keywords. I bet if I typed in crawl space mold, and especially if I went to filters and went to view count, black mold, how to talk to mold, crawl space, things like that. So the first thing I would say is going back to this first concept that you're going to imitate the top 100 most viewed videos in the world in your niche. You're going to solve all these problems, but your thumbnails and your titles have to be clickable. Okay, what's the next one you'd like me to look at?
Yeah, I'm trying to pick ones that are very different. So this one's a doctor. I think it's a dentist. So I put it in there. And interestingly enough, I'm going to read you out a comment that they put in. They had a media group helping with their YouTube channel, and they said that company was only creating shorts. And I've actually seen this quite a few times with businesses that we work with. They've hired this other company to do YouTube videos for them, and they're only producing shorts. So I definitely want to hear your feedback on if that's good or bad and why people are doing that.
Yeah, I would say that shorts are a million times easier. And I mean, think about it this way. Telling a story is hard. Telling a story in 30 to 60 seconds or 3 minutes is hard. Telling a story in 10 or 20 minutes that people are going to engage with and watch 80% of the video is like near impossible. So I definitely encourage all my new YouTube students to master the vertical video before they go long. And I believe I even kind of did this with you guys.
We did.
And, I think it helped, because one thing I will say about a journey like being a video creator is each little notch in your belt, each little success, each little hurdle definitely helps you have confidence to be able to go to the next route. I'd say like people creating vertical videos have 80 to 90% of the potential of virality on the internet, and they are practicing putting in their reps. A friend of mine, Evan Carmichael, always says, Jeremy, go put in your 100 reps, meaning go make 100 videos before you even think if you're good or bad. And it's really hard to make 100 long videos, but it's really easy to make 100 short videos. So I actually have a customer right now in real estate, and she is shooting 50 short videos today in one day. And the reason I'm making her do that is because she has to put in the reps. She's nervous on camera, and I want her to do the reps to get out of the nervousness. We probably won't even use those 50. I didn't tell her that, though. I giving her the stress.
Well, I was supposed to say that sounds like a nightmare. 50 videos in one day. Do you want to pull up this channel, the doctor one, and then?
Yeah, I have it up.
Curious to see their shorts. Like if they're only doing shorts, we haven't looked at any of those. So
yeah, so I'm gonna watch one real quick and kind of get a sense.
So it's a dentist. One thing I'll ask you, is it crucial for them to have their own captions? I know YouTube obviously has the captions above too, right? Is that something you recommend?
It's a weird concept, and I'll say it like this. So Mr. Beast recently was talking to Mark Zuckerberg. Right now, believe it or not, most of my really famous creator friends are making more money on Facebook than they are YouTube for video content, and Mr. Beast included. And he was saying that, hey, when we have no audio at all, we get hundreds of times more views because 80% of the world does not speak English. The problem fundamentally, and I think they are going to address this, is YouTube, for example, on long videos is now automatically, at least in America and Canada, with AI dubbing your voice into any other voice. So when I make a video in America now on my channel, I have a Japanese version of myself and Russian version, and that's pretty cool. And if you really think about it, 80% of the world doesn't speak English. So it makes a lot of sense. The burnt-in captions haven't really caught up with that. So long-term, I think, no, you will never do this. Short-term, most people are actually watching videos still to this day at work. So, and 3/4 of people on Facebook video still do not have audio turned on because of this. So I would be very careful. Right now, I would definitely burn in captions. If the majority of your audience is not in your language, then I probably would not.
Okay.
But this channel is doing a great job. I will say this: I could have taken this script and made it a million times more powerful. So, for example, being good on YouTube isn't good enough. You have to be effective. So the first 2 seconds of the video, I would have shown like the worst smile restoration I've ever done. And I'd have someone with like no teeth, and then immediately show someone with brand new teeth, and then talk, have them show them crying. And then, have impactful music and reasons of why this man is changing people's lives. Right now, this feels like a commercial. I want to know what makes this guy drink 2 cups of coffee instead of 1 in a day. And if you think about scripting and editing and filming and with purpose, passion, and profit, you're going to get 10 times more views. If you think about checking off something you have to do in your to-do list of making a video, you're probably not consider the viewer first. And if you don't have a viewer first experience, I know this for a fact, Joy now cares more about the viewer than herself when she's making a video. And going from 100 to 100,000 subscribers in a few years is pretty remarkable. And it's a good testament to her entire team's dedication to making sure that her viewers are served first.
I have another channel up here that I think is a property management one. So that one might be kind of interesting. So Bay Management Group, Baltimore.
Cool. Now, I really do like their banner. It's rent your home in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me everything I need to know. I will say the Bay Property Management Group doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know who they are. But that rent your home in 30 days on average, if I have a house that I need to rent, I'm done. This is my company. That's beautiful. Really well written. The visuals are elegant and stand out, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to sort by most popular. And the reason I do that, and by the way, I knew that was going to happen. Looking at these thumbnails, they're nice, but good is not good enough on YouTube. It's not about being nice or being graphical. It's about being clickable. When I click on most popular, it is not it is not unusual that the most graphical colored primary colored videos are the best performing. In fact, you can see this on average, those videos were doing 100 times better than the current videos. So these are perfect thumbnails. And I'm not exactly sure why we moved away from this concept, but these thumbnails are literally, sure, you can make better ones than this, but these are A pluses.
So I want to ask you a question on this one. So it looks like these guys do property management. So what are your thoughts around like that? How to unclog a toilet doesn't seem like overly relevant to their channel. Like they're not a plumber. Is that a good idea or a bad idea to make videos about those kind of topics?
It's a terrible idea to make content that isn't about what you do. Now, technically, as a project manager, a property manager, you are unclogging toilets, or one of your employees are. Like, right? That's part of it. Makes sense. But this is your second highest most viewed video of all time. And now the algorithm's going to get confused. People are coming to your channel to unclog toilets. They're probably not coming with the intent to sell their house or rent their house. So you have an identity crisis. One of my students, he's a very famous weed control, like yard weeds, not other weed. And he and his son put a stupid ping pong video on his channel, got 7 million views overnight, a short. And I yelled at him. I was like, no, take that off. And he ended up getting like 15 or 20,000 subscribers overnight from that ping pong video. And, he only has 200,000 or 300,000 total subscribers only. I know he has a big channel, but let's just say in theory, 10% of his channel is now ping pongers, not weed controllers. Every time you fragment your audience, the YouTube and Google algorithm get confused of who your audience is. And the entire algorithm is based on serving the right people that are going to watch the longest. If now my weed control channel is all about ping pong, what is YouTube and Google going to do with that content? what happens a lot of times, even on big channels I manage, like 3, 4, 5 million subscribers, if you start talking about everything, you become nothing.
So I feel like I'm going to put that on a t-shirt or something. I have another really interesting one, very different topic. This one's Bitcoin, so that should be fun. While you're queuing that one up, Jeremy, I also want to just let everybody know, if you haven't already got your ticket for Local U Global, we're doing an event in January that's going to be an all-day event. We have some really awesome speakers lined up, so I can tease a few of them. Kyle Roof is going to be presenting. If you are in the SEO space, Kyle is like one of the GOATs. I feel like I learn something from him every time I hear him speak. We have Will Reynolds also speaking. So the value of this event is going to be enormous. It's only $99 to come, and it is on demand. So if you aren't able to attend live, you can always watch the videos after. So if you haven't already gotten your ticket, do make sure you get that. And it's global because anyone anywhere can come. So unlike our in-person events, there's no travel cost. All right, we do have some questions here, Jeremy. So I'm actually just going to ask you a few of those before you pull this one up. Justin wants to know if there's a way that you can tell the difference between the number of organic views and ad views on YouTube. Like if you see a video that has 200,000 views, theoretically speaking, they could just be putting that video in an ad and that's what's generating the views.
Yeah. So on your own channel, obviously, yes, you can see what was, put through ads or not. But what we do is we look at the average clicks, comments, likes, comments, and shares. So if it's like well below, like 10 times below your average, that is when we have a red flag of, oh, this was just a commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see a video with 1 million views and 10 comments, that was the ad.
Okay. Next question. What editing software do you recommend for thumbnail creation?
So for thumbnails, I would recommend Photoshop or Canva. I will say things are getting really cool and crazy. Nana Banana is unbelievably cool, and AI is about to absolutely, dominate this industry.
Mm-hmm. And then last question, which I don't know if you want to answer this one live. What are your thoughts on VidIQ for recommendations on titles, thumbnails, etc.?
A lot of people don't know this, but I actually worked there. I was the chief marketing officer at VidIQ for 4 years. And I actually created a lot of their, several of their features, like even the channel audit tool and then many other tools. I also did their entire YouTube strategy and helped them go from like 100,000 to over 2 million subscribers on YouTube. So I'm a big fan. I've also worked with TubeBuddy and other companies in this space. I'm a huge fan. I will say, though, that here's my problem with those types of companies now. YouTube themselves are telling you what titles to make. You have all these AI tools that are pretty good at helping you with titles. So, finding a source that is like kind of the best version of that is getting harder and harder to find. I am not downplaying how amazing these tools are. I'm just saying, like, there's a fork in the road here. It's like AI or AI tools or a different approach. And I do know personally a lot of people that are starting to not use some of these tools anymore because of the availability, even what ChatGPT can do by itself.
Now, I want to ask you about AI because you kind of touched on it earlier, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on this because there is a segment of people out there, marketers specifically, that are all about these AI videos. And you mentioned that when you were talking with the lawyer about how like a lot of competitors might just make AI generated videos without faces and all that jazz. Have you seen this actually work on YouTube? Like, is it a viable strategy for those that don't want to spend all the hard work?
So a very dear friend of mine, his name is Austin Armstrong, and he owns a company called Syllabi, and it's a faceless YouTube video generator with AI. And I will say this, if a story's good, if the editing and visuals are good, people are going to watch it. And it's almost like asking, do I like math by paper or by calculator? At the end of the day, I don't know if it really matters how the sausage was made, but crappy content is crappy content. So I will say that I believe the future of movies and entertainment in America now, YouTube has more watch time on televisions than smartphones. A lot of us still have this like really kind of backdated idea that people are just watching YouTube on lunch breaks on their phones. But the truth is, YouTube on televisions is like 7 times bigger than Netflix on televisions.
That's wild.
YouTube is absolutely huge. YouTube's the biggest music platform. It's the biggest podcast platform. And in 2025, it's all about long form content where you can lean back and be entertained or educated, kind of like the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, where things are just happening and you're leaning back, enjoying the moment. And that is very critical. I believe that a lot of us don't understand the power of what YouTube is and what people think it is.
I almost think it's like the opposite of AI. That's my stance, but I think it's like when people don't want AI slop, they go to YouTube and Reddit, because that's probably the most human, real place on earth. Like maybe TikTok, you could throw that in the mix too as well.
For like the first decade I've worked on YouTube, I always said that YouTube was the new punk rock because it's authentic. There's real people, and there's people doing really random stuff like you, and you can find your weirdos there. And I really believe like it was one of the purest forms of authenticity online ever. And I, obviously we're going to eventually lose that because all great things die. But I do believe that people like Roger Wakefield that are really pouring into a group or a community are still going to do better than AI. Now, as we know, the technology is getting so crazy so fast, there will definitely be a time in the near future that my avatar is going to do a better job than me on video. That's going to happen. There's going to be a point in time in the next few years that you want to see a movie half Spider-Man, half Batman, half comedy, and you're just going to pick the parts and hit go, and you're going to watch a new movie no one else has ever seen that was made for you specifically.
All right, let's get a couple tips from this Bitcoin. Then I've got some questions here. So let's see what you got to say about these guys. This looks interesting.
So first off, Gary Leland, shout out, is a very, very good friend of mine. Thank you so much for joining us today. Gary is one of the most brilliant marketers I've ever met in my entire life. I've known him probably 15 plus years. And just want to say hi to my friend. I will say that I really like the color of these thumbnails, but what I don't like is I would argue that anything over 12 characters in a thumbnail is too much, because you're not actually trying to repeat what the title says. What you really want to do is give someone a reason to click. So, for example, Dante Cook, how to orange pill anyone. First off, I don't even visually know what that means, but I would have had a visual of that orange pill philosophy happening with an arrow or a zoom in. I would not have had Dante like professional, and I would have had a reason to click, and I would probably have almost no text or anything. It would be like a question mark or orange pill question mark, something very simple. And what people don't understand about a thumbnail is you stop scrolling by the thumbnail. A thumbnail is actually a stop sign. You stop scrolling and then read the title. So you never want to repeat the text in a thumbnail that's in a title. Instead, you want to make people use it as a stop sign. Stop read the title, click. So the thumbnails are professional and pretty, but they're not clickable in my opinion. Same with the overall titles. I would say that if this channel is about Bitcoin, there's almost zero Bitcoin type of words in your titles. And I'm guessing you would get, if you just focus on specific things like how to mine Bitcoin in 2025, you would probably get, hundreds of times more views if you focus on things that matter to viewers. And how do we do that? We literally just go up here and type in something like Bitcoin.
So
and we start.
Travis is saying this is the top videos or speaker presentations on stage at a conference. So that's actually an interesting thing. Would you put, like, we don't put our videos of any of our conferences on our YouTube channel. Is that a good idea to do that or a bad idea?
I think if you can draw in the right audience, it's a very good idea. Also, going back to the whole concept that long form video is doing much better than short form, on YouTube. So yeah, anytime you can get someone watching more than 5 or 10 minutes, it's a gold mine potential. But also in the title, I would put that.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't actually know it was a conference series, but I see that in the description now.
Yeah, I knew it was I knew this is a conference, but just a good explanation of, like, even from an SEO perspective, like, let's put the keywords of that type of stuff, like Bitcoin conference, in the titles as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, I have a few questions here, so I'm going to get to those before we end here. I do want to mention, if you haven't registered for next month's webinar, going to be a slightly different topic. I'm actually sitting down with Lars Lofgren. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right. I came across Lars because he was an SEO that has blogged some really interesting stories. He outs people for doing all kinds of really shady things in SEO. He talked about how easy it is to spam Reddit. Like, his articles are so in-depth and so interesting. And I believe he's also really the reason why Forbes got a penalty on Google. Again, that's my theory. We'll see what he has to say about it. But if you want to check that out, make sure you register for that event coming up next month. Okay, a few questions here. As a small business, where do you start with video equipment and software?
So what I would start is a tripod, your phone, and a $30 to a $100 wireless mic system, and keep it simple. The biggest thing I would say is people do not tolerate shaky or bad audio. So get a, sub $100 wireless mic that the base of it plugs into your phone. Put that near your mouth, or get 2 of them for 2 speakers, and have light. If you have shady eyes, shady eyes is kind of a concept that if people can't see the whites of your eyes, they're not going to be able to trust you subconsciously. So either face an outside, a window, so that you have natural light coming in on your face, or have, like, I have a light panel in front of me here that's about $100. Have a light panel, and then use a tripod so things aren't crazy shaky. There's definitely time and place for shaky. Like, I do a lot of adventures. Like, I'm doing a 50-mile race walk in 2 weeks, and I will be doing a lot of, like, shaky style camera work on purpose, because I want people to feel the experience with me. So there is zero reason that most companies, including big companies, need something more than an iPhone or a smartphone at this point.
So you're telling me my husband didn't need to go spend thousands of dollars on video equipment? I'll be sure to let him know that you said that.
No, Richard, he gets the green light. He can do whatever he wants.
Okay. Last question here from Carrie. How do you feel about faces in thumbnails that are not looking at the viewer?
Wow, that's a good question, Carrie. I like that. That's a really, really good question. So the purpose of a face is to get emotions. So for example, if someone is looking off screen, but it looks like they're looking at something scary, that is just as effective as not looking at the camera. It goes back to the concept of whatever the hero of the video is, should be what is on the thumbnail. So if someone's reaction to something is the hero of the video, then maybe they're not looking at the camera. But if it's about you connecting to your audience, you're going to tip camera because you're going to want to make them feel like they're being listened to and your friends.
Awesome. Thank you. I know we're at time, Jeremy. If people want to get free audit, because I know there was a lot of YouTube channels submitted that we did not have time to look at, where do they go to get that free audit?
They just go to CreatorUnlock.com. The audits are free, and it is definitely a lot of data. Like, you're going to get a ton of data there for free. I would highly recommend checking that out. I would even say, you know, doing this so long that our version of our free audit is more powerful than most paid audits out there.
Awesome. And Richard's reminding me that this is a 2-hour webinar and we're not done. So never mind. I'm like, sometimes they're an hour, sometimes they're 2 hours. So sorry, I will get you to audit a whole bunch more channels because he's right. So man, bad. I need more of my energy drink. So I'll get back to drinking that and we'll queue up another one here. All right. Let's go with a auto dealer. This should be interesting. So we've got Wendell Ford. Thanks, Richard, by the way. Let's pull them up and take a look at them.
All right. From a local perspective, I would actually like to see where they're from. Like on the banner, like what state, what country. Again, YouTube's 80% of people in the world do not speak English. So even looking, I still don't know where they are from.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely, you know, figure out a way on the banner to give a physical location. I think that's a miss. I'm going to go to most popular videos, and I'm going to kind of see what a lot of the views. Now, this is a situation, I'm guessing that there's a lot of ads. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the most viewed video, and I'm guessing it's an ad, and I'm guessing the comments and likes are very, very low. So there are 273,000 views and 1 like and 0 comments. And that's not to burn them or say it's bad. Someone asked earlier, how would you tell? This is exactly how you tell. So I'm going to go to the latest. And it really just does kind of look like everything they do is really based on ads. I'm going to try to find. Yeah, so they're making, now they do have Spokane, Washington here. They made a music video. I'm going to go look at, most of this is ads. Some of it's silly. Some of it's AI. I'm going to go look at shorts and see if there's some other stuff.
Ooh, I want to ask you about the one with the kid, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Because I asked you that same question. We were like, we had a kid that we wanted to put in a bunch of our YouTube videos because I thought it would actually help with views, because who doesn't like to see cute kids? What are your thoughts on that?
If it supports the hero message, if it supports the reason someone's going to watch, yes. If it exploits the kid in a negative way, no. I've worked with a lot of kids channels. I don't work with kids channels anymore. There's some weird reasons. There's a lady in prison now. Let's just say that's enough to talk about. But basically, if you are in Spokane, Washington, and you're selling cars, you probably need to talk about what kind of cars you should drive there. Like what works the best. You're going to know who your demographic is of buyers. You're going to know the percentage of people that buy trucks versus SUVs. And, it is absolutely a phenomenal strategy. And I'm sure they make a lot of money doing these commercials. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. But what I would do in the future is if you want to have organic growth, I would actually have all the commercials on another channel. And I would put all of or make them unlisted so they're not showing up. Because you can just make an ad like a private basically or unlisted. And then they're not going to show up on the main channel. And then all the other videos on the channel are going to be actual content you want people to watch. So fun and silly, having kids, all of that stuff doesn't matter or does matter. If you don't have your messaging right, if you're not creating content people want to consume, then none of that other stuff matters. Let me show you a channel, a friend of mine, the Chevy dude. He is one of the largest dealer. Now he owns his own dealership because of YouTube. And he has 500,000 subscribers. Now, this is a dealership /dealer/sales car salesman that has a 500,000 subscribers on YouTube and has done very, very well for himself. Now let's go look and let's see what kind of content he's putting out compared to what a typical car dealership puts out. I'm going to go to most popular. Aha. 9 fees to never pay a car dealership. Imagine if a car dealership taught you how to not get effed over by a car dealership. That's pretty powerful. This is reasons people would actually watch this video. And I remember watching this video because I didn't want to get duped, So now I have an actual reason to talk to a car salesman. Sounds crazy, but questions to never answer on a car lot. 5 car buying scams to watch out for. Smart people will do this while test driving a car. So now he went from the enemy of all to the friend of car buyers. And that value is invaluable. He has 500,000 subscribers. And if I was a car dealership, I would model this type of concept, not necessarily as negative. I'd have my own angle of it, but I would find a way and a reason to be an ally, not someone hated, And so, I hope that's a good kind of like, left and right explanation of what I would do versus what they're doing.
I noticed with some of these video titles, there are certain words that are all capitalized. Can you talk about the science behind that? Like there's never pay a car dealership and never is all caps and you is all caps in one of the other ones. Is that a good idea? And how do you choose what word?
It is definitely a good idea. And it just goes to, it's just like showing an arrow in a thumbnail, right? What you're just doing is just kind of highlighting the most important thing. The biggest word in successful YouTube videos of all time is the word you, Y-O-U. Why is that? Because they are watching the videos and you really need to make it about them and their experience. So you or I are 2 of the biggest words to ever be used in video titles and will ever be used in video titles. So by highlighting them, by making those action words or emotional trigger words capitalized. You're just kind of give them a little love, making people understand what's important in the title. And subconsciously, yes, I will click on a title with YOU capitalized before I click on a title that's not.
Awesome. I have another channel queued up here that is a marketing company.
Cool.
So we can do that one next. And I stuck it in the chat. Trying to pick different industries on here. Winning Team. It's a great name.
And I hope this is helping everyone. Let me know if you want me to go a different direction.
No, I think everyone's loving it. I've got lots of good comments coming in here. I have a few questions. I will also queue those up.
So this particular channel is still new. There's one video, and let us make your marketing as awesome as you are. So that gets close to the what and why and primal branding, but I think there's a little to be changed there, to be honest. I do like the you in your marketing and awesome. Like those are really good terms, but why would people watch this channel? That's the problem I have with this messaging.
I think, Jeremy, sorry, I think they submitted this twice. One was wrong spelling. I think it's supposed to be team wedding marketing.
Cool.
No, it makes, maybe. I think one of those two is correct. I'm not sure which one it is. I'm just looking. Winning team. No, I think winning team is correct. Yeah, never mind. Winning team is correct.
Okay.
Maybe it's the same company. I don't know. I'm confused. They put one on one and one on the other.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Okay. So it's a fun video. It doesn't really have a reason to watch it. It's more just like, hey, we're fun. Our clients are awesome. And that's great. Like do any type of videos you want. If you are trying to get people more awesome and like be themselves in marketing, this is the type of videos I would make. I would make things like how to beat AI in marketing, how to put you in your business marketing. And I would start making, and figuring out, I would go type in like best marketing, so best marketing strategies. I would start doing like personal branding stuff, and I would figure out what the top videos in the world are. Like, just going to type in marketing strategies for now and filter by view count. And then I'm going to start by showcasing cool marketing, how people, had personalized their marketing brands, and do case studies or how-to videos around the top 100 videos in these topics.
So there's actually a related question that somebody asked here. What are some tips for effective titles and descriptions? Like, how do you make them better?
So with titles, I actually have a document I can share with everyone if you'd like. I have these 12 questions to ask. And these 12 questions are actually pretty important. Give me 1 second. We'll go to tools. So it's going to pull up. It'll just take about 20 or 30 seconds. But what I'm going to show you are the 12 rules that I asked to make titles better. And it'll be just a second. While we're waiting on this, is there another question? Maybe.
Yeah, this is a good one. Are your recommendations for thumbnails for shorts any different than thumbnails for longs? So
thumbnails for shorts aren't really a thing. You can add a frame in a thumbnail on upload from a mobile device only right now. channels like Mr. Beast can upload an actual custom thumbnail. There are, beta programs and stuff out there. But ultimately, think about it this way. 99% of the time, a short is on the short shelf, which auto plays. And then you swipe up to see the next one. So 99% of the time, you will never see a shorts thumbnail. The only time you really see a shorts thumbnail is when people are in your channel. Less than 5% of your traffic ever goes to your channel page. So
yeah, people spend all that time on those pictures.
We're talking like well over 90% of the people will never see a shorts thumbnail. It's not important right now. When it is important, we'll work on it.
This is kind of related, so maybe you're going to answer the same way. What's the best way to organize videos into playlists? Playlists are another thing that I think are a channel, like when you're looking at the channel, right?
Yeah.
Do you recommend even bothering to do this?
I think that logically grouping your content together in playlists and homepage sections are really important. And I would do it based on SEO. So let's say you're a cosmetic industry. I would do things like the top 10 common problems that people come to you with, like teeth problems. And I would have each one of those problems as a playlist. And if you can show my screen real quick, Richard, I can show these 12 rules. So for the title, when you run this on my AI software here, we're going to give you 5 titles that is based on all of the deep research we've done, the 100 videos and all of that. And they're really good. We're also going to grade what your current title is. And then we're going to show you the 12 rules. And character count, is it under 70 characters? Is there a reason to click? Does it have a curiosity gap? Is there a emotional response? Are there keywords for your niche? Is the value or benefit of the video stated? Meaning, is there a reason to click or watch? Is it unique or attention grabbing? Like I said earlier, being the purple cow, Seth Godin would say. Is it transformative or secretive? Are there lists or numbers? Is there something trending or do you have authority to talk about that thing? Do you have brand tone or style? And does this title actually represent the actual video? So that is my 12 rules for titles, and an AI platform can go in and help you create really good titles based on that.
That's awesome. I have a few more questions here. Okay. Oh my goodness. So many, actually more than a few. Let's get to these here. With AI powered local SEO only showing one local business. Yeah, this is a problem. How much should one allocate in terms of ad budgets for MAP, LSA versus YouTube ads? So what they're talking about, local service ads, are those ads you usually see at the top for like plumbers, lawyers, etc. Which, they charge you per lead, which is enticing to a small business because you actually have a general idea of how much your cost per lead is. So how do you balance that with running YouTube ads?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, to be honest, but I do know this. With Google YouTube ads, you're kind of unlimited of your audience, your geo-targeting, remarketing, and you can really get down to a granular level of the cost per acquisition. Mm-hmm. So I would test both. I do think that they both have their place. I've used both for businesses in the past, and I do believe they serve 2 different purposes and show up in kind of 2 different worlds. So I do think that both would be important. I do believe that Google ads ultimately are going to have a better cost per acquisition and better tracking and metrics and, things like that. But you want to show up where your people are.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like Jeremy said, you should be able to test this and know exactly what your cost per lead is when you're doing different ad types. I was actually looking at an ads account yesterday, and it's for a business that sells products, but they're product listing ads. You know how when you do a Google search and you get like all the visually appealing kind of ads that show you different products, the cost per lead on those was more than double just like traditional search ads, which is not what I would have expected. But again, like that's why it's important to like know and test out different ad formats. In this case, that one's like, okay, that's got to go. But you'll know, a limited amount of time if you run ads on YouTube, you should be able to tell how they perform compared to like your traditional ads or local service ads as well. Here's an off-topic question. Do you still have the VidPow Muska skateboard? Dude, I have no idea what that means, but I assume
Oh, wow. You do. That's so cool. Unfortunately, it was glass and it broke. But
shocking.
Shout out to James Manning, who's probably on the call, a very dear friend of mine and one of my skateboard buddies. I'm 49, but I still skateboard every day.
All right. This is a question here. Are YouTube shorts a better way to grow your business from a local business perspective, or is long length videos better for growing your business?
Man, you got a tough audience. This is
Yeah,
hard.
I told you they're going to ask good questions.
So the answer is probably not what you think it's going to be. It depends on the intent of the user. So for example, if you had a local ice cream shop, short form video is going to do better.
Makes sense.
But, if you have a welding company, it's probably going to be better to explain what you do or how to weld in a long form content. Another thing I would argue is you should always have both, because there's two types of viewers now. One thing people really hate about shorts and longs is it's really two different types of people. I would say that, yes, there's probably 10 times more views per day on shorts than long form videos. And YouTube is even like passed up TikTok on short form videos at this point. They're huge, billions and billions of views a day. But it's a different intent. If I type on my phone, ice cream near me on Google, I'm going to get an ice cream shop closest to me, probably in the map, and possibly reviews for that ice cream shop or ones near me. If I type it on YouTube, I'm going to get ice cream recipes or some weird Play-Doh Lego stuff, because there's a lot of Lego and Play-Doh style toys for kids about ice cream on YouTube. So the intent is very important. So, and this is where YouTube is so dramatically different still than Google.
We have a couple more questions here. Also, I want to let people know, if you didn't hear the call out earlier, if you want your channel audited, there's a little QR code in the corner there that you can fill out and just put yours on here. I actually have a couple other ones that are different industries. So I'm going to go ahead and give you another one to pull up. This one's an addiction treatment center, so a little bit more of a sensitive topic. So if you want to pull up that, I might just put that in the chat.
All right, I have it pulled up.
Awesome.
And I'm not sure if this is Austin Armstrong in the room. Probably not. But shout out to Austin if you are in the room. He works with a lot of addiction centers, and I helped Austin go from 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers to over 500,000 subscribers recently. And he's helped 2 or 3 addiction centers get over 100,000 subscribers now. So if it isn't you, you should definitely get to know Austin Armstrong, Socialty Pro on YouTube. I'm just going to sort. So freedom from addiction, get help today, is confidential and free. The only thing I would say is I still don't really know what the what and why the channel's about. I would just say this is a business marketing on YouTube, which is also fine. Like, I'm sure it works. But if you want to sincerely help people with your videos that are struggling with addiction, I would not have this kind of model look. I would have the person that's going to be on camera talking and being authentic. Another thing about addiction is families suffer as much as the person a lot of the times. So a lot of the questions and videos are more about, how do I help my son get help? So a lot of the biggest trending targets out there are not actually for the person addicted. And I think that's a really important thing to understand from an SEO perspective in this space. Okay, so I'm going to click on most popular. Now, again, 546,000 views. I'm guessing this was an ad. No, probably, maybe not. You know, for almost 5,000 likes and 3,000 comments, that's actually quite a lot of engagement. So yeah, that's not an ad. What's interesting though is you got all these views with these exact types of thumbnails, and then we went away from that style of thumbnail. And I just want to know why. You know, maybe it was an ad, I'm not sure. But if these were the top 2 performing videos from a click perspective, titles and thumbnails, why did we go away from this formula?
Yeah, there's a stark contrast between how many views these ones are getting.
Exactly.
Why do you think that is? I
think there's a lot of reasons. I think that YouTube and Google are confused of what their value is to the viewer. I think that they talk about so many things that maybe they are actually becoming nothing to the algorithm. I would even argue at this point in 2025, 2026, you may even want to talk about 1 or 2 types of addictions. I know the treatment center may not be focused on that, but you may want to go all in on like alcohol or marijuana or whatever the main thing, the main way you make your money is. If you went all in on one type of addiction, all things alcohol addiction, going back to the Roger Wakefield concept, you could answer questions for families, for addicts, for, you know, you could have guests that are famously addicted to whatever. And the world becomes, the niche world becomes a lot smaller when you focus on one thing and become the best person in the world on that one thing. When you're really like a niche expert, like Joy is for local SEO, you all of a sudden know all the people in the industry. You could write a book. You could, you know, have the best performing videos in the world on this subject. You could go to conferences and be a keynote speaker for that particular addiction. I think that when you try to become everything to everyone addicted, you're probably ending up becoming nothing to no one in the algorithm. And that's just a hard truth. It's just reality. I feel like you guys put a lot of effort into these videos. And I think that if you could focus them down to topics, you know, make sure you check those thumbnails and titles like we talked about today. I think it could be a whole different approach.
So I think that's actually a really valid point that a lot of small businesses probably don't get. Most of the businesses I talk to, they don't just do one thing. So for example, we might have an HVAC company and they do air conditioning, they do heating, they do plumbing, maybe even do electric. So in a situation like that, are you recommending that they pick the thing that, you know, makes them the most money, niche down on that, and then do they ever like start another YouTube channel for the next thing once that one's successful, or how do they proceed?
So it would be like having 2 cars or 2 houses or 2 wives.
Okay.
Is a lot to deal with, you know. I would argue that you should have something broad enough to be all encompassing, but niche enough to have these 3 things, and that is passion, profit, and purpose. So your natural born gifts, the reason you were born, should be a third of your niche. Your passion should be a third of your niche, because if you're not fired up about it, you're going to lose your ability to give a crap. And if you're not making money from doing these things, you're going to lose patience to be doing this. I really do believe those 3 things, purpose, profit, and passion, all have to line up, and they all have to be very important to you in your niche, or this type of work is not going to work for you.
That's good advice. I have another one queued up here that is a fencing company. So let's take a look at that one. I also have a couple questions I'm going to throw at you while you're pulling that up. Somebody wants to know if hashtags matter in the title and or description.
So YouTube changes a lot all the time. In the last 3 or 4 years, I would say that yes, hashtags are important again. What happens is you don't want to put a hashtag in the title. You want to put a hashtag in the description, and then up to 3 hashtags will show up underneath the title. It's kind of like a site link on an ad. So by having 3 hashtags in the description, people can then click on those hashtags and go to the topic. And if you go to, and if you could pull up my screen real quick, I want to show something. Richard.
We lost him. Yeah. He'll pull it up. Okay, while he's pulling that up, do you want me to? I have another question that probably doesn't need a screen share, but Richard,
Sure.
When you're back, we need Jeremy's video up. Okay. Updating descriptions. This is an interesting question. So have you found that updating descriptions makes a difference in rankings and traffic to websites after review?
So in order of importance, on a lot of tests I've done, big data tests, the title is still the #1 SEO kind of factor in rankings. Watch time is more important than that. And so click, watch, like. So how much people, the click-through rates of your titles and thumbnails and previews, how much people do that is important. How long people watch your videos is very important. And descriptions are probably the 3rd or 4th most important part of the SEO for a YouTube video. 500 to 1,000 words are still important.
I discovered something on our own channel that I'll share with you guys too. We actually try to put a link in the first, I can't remember, it's 30 or 50, wherever the cutoff point is, Jeremy.
Yeah.
That we try to put a link in there to the relevant page on our website. We found that not only helps increase ranking for that page on Google, not on YouTube, but it also drives a lot of referral traffic from YouTube. We actually forgot to do this for some reason, like stopped doing it about a year ago. And I was looking in our Google Analytics and I was like, why the hell did we stop getting so much traffic from YouTube? And it was literally just the description field. Like we were not doing that. So we went back and did it, and you should have seen our referral traffic went up. It's crazy.
That's brilliant. And yeah, people aren't going to really read descriptions, and they don't read short descriptions, but always put your link in the first sentence if you do have a description. Now, at the very top of the homepage, you're going to see these things called topics. Mm-hmm. And topics are basically what YouTube thinks you watch. I don't know if I watch motorboats, but I am a nerd, so I watch SEO. And I have been doing bouldering lately, so I'm probably watching, bouldering, digital marketing. I do invest in tiny houses, so it really does kind of know who I am. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to click bouldering here, and the best bouldering videos in the world are showing up. So this is kind of what a hashtag is now. If you think of SEO on YouTube now is topic keywords, plumbing, plumbers, how to plumb would be Roger Wakefield's topics. For skateboarding, it would be how to skateboard, skateboard, skateboarding. So these terms are really how YouTube associates and correlates your channel to theirs. And by using hashtags in your core topic keywords, you could possibly encourage YouTube to have you show up in these items more. So the reason I would use hashtags is I would do them in this concept of climbing, bouldering, boulder, stuff like that for this type of content. So hashtags are important. They're not why you think they're important, but it's more about becoming the master of any topic.
That's a cool tip. I'm like looking at mine now. I'm like, yeah, these are very personalized to me, but
Yeah.
they're really, really cool. All right, we're going to look at the fencing channel now.
Okay.
It's a lot of videos. 234 videos. So those numbers, I was going to ask you, is that like a good sign that they only have 300 subscribers with 234 videos, or does that even matter?
I am trying not to be mean here.
No, honest.
So I'm slow rolling it. But I will say this. You're really going to probably suck your first 100 videos. When I see a channel with low subscribers and high videos, it tells me something I really need to know. And that is they care. They're out there doing it. And with a little bit of tweaking, they could probably blow up. And I want to show you another customer of mine. They were at 20 or 30,000 subscribers when I started working with them. And now they're at 149,000 subscribers. And just kind of like fencing, they're just a pest and lawn service company. And what we found out is they would start going viral a lot on very specific things, especially on shorts. We went crazy on shorts. Like, it is crazy how many views we have on shorts. Like this video has 10 million views, 8 million. So what we figured out is what goes viral for their industry. And then we just keep on making those videos. So the first thing I would do is I would go figure out the shorts that are always going viral for these types of companies. In grass care, it's like overgrown. I'm guessing in fencing, there's like a concept of overgrown as well. And it's almost like ASMR where people just watch people cut tall grass, like billions and billions of views a month or watch of people just watching people with tall grass get short grass. It's
so weird.
It's pretty weird.
Apparently, Richard says he does that. Wow. Okay. Weirdo.
I mean, makes sense. Makes sense. Knowing Richard, that makes a lot of sense.
Richard's my husband, for those that don't know. So we're just roasting him.
Yeah, we have to. That's the law. So this is a really cool shot. But as a viewer, I don't have an ASMR moment. I don't really have a reason to watch like a bird's view eye of a fence. And although it's cool, there's really not a purpose of this video.
Would it make a good commercial, something like that? Because it screams
absolutely. Yeah. It would absolutely make a very good commercial of like, hey, you're in this city. This is what we do for the best, nicest homes in the county. It's great.
Dave's here backing up Richard on the, binge watching stupid videos. So.
That's good.
There's a lot of them out there.
But yeah, so the problem is you're not exactly sure what the best type of fencing videos are, and you're not recreating those. You are uploading and you're doing things, and that's very important. What I want to do is type in fencing. And I wonder if I'm going to actually get like fencing, like, you know, swords and stuff. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. So what do you do in a situation like this?
I do something like fence installation, fence repair, ideas. Fence design ideas is probably huge on videos. And then, you know, like this video right here is less than landscape along our fence. And this has over 500,000 views.
Wow.
So this is kind of where you have to start understanding from a fence perspective is like who is watching these videos and why. And I would say fence installation is probably ASMR style. And I'm going to filter by most viewed. And here's one with 8 million views. Now this seems purposeful and cool because it's a time lapse of a homeowner building a fence from scratch. And to me, this is actually a pretty intriguing video. Even though I don't care about fences, I'm probably going to watch this because, like Richard, I'm a goober.
Oh my gosh, we had a client that they do painting, and I couldn't get over how many views they had this video of just spraying a wall or a cabinet on TikTok. And it got like so many views, and it was like 20 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. And it's literally just them spray painting. Just like, what? Sometimes people don't make sense.
And I will say, like, what she created there with the arch is so cool.
That's cool.
And so the payoff. So I'm going to refresh this video and show it again. So it starts by a person. You can probably tell this isn't like a professional. Getting their materials together. So in the first couple of seconds, I understand what the video is. They're going to go build a fence. If I swipe away now, that's fine. But if I stay, I'm probably going to stay to the end because I'm invested. So now I am watching her starting to create a fence, starting to get cooler. And then the payoff at the end, that unexpected, super cool arch, was probably why people watch it to the very, very end, because they had this payoff moment. Okay, the fence is done. Most people would stop watching it here, but then you get intrigued. You have that curiosity gap and you're like, what is the crap is she doing now? And then you start seeing this and you're like, I have to watch this to the end because that looks really cool. So the order of pacing is very important.
So Dave's comment here made me think we haven't actually talked at all about comments and how to address them. And, you know, people that are trolls, you're going to get that on YouTube, like guaranteed. The more popular your video, probably the more trolls you'll get. So what are your tips on how to deal with YouTube trolls who think they're experts at everything, yet sitting on their mom's basement couch?
One of my favorite things that anyone on YouTube has ever done is one of my students, Austin Armstrong. And what he does is so trolling genius that he just cracks me up so much. So one day I saw on his tabs when he's doing like a screen share video, he'll have like Nancy Pelosi nudes on like a folder on one of his tabs. And what he's doing is he's trolling the trolls before they can even troll. So then people are like, wait a minute, did anyone else see that? I swear he has like a folder on his computer that says Nancy Pelosi nudes. And he's always, every video, there's some weird Easter egg of just trolling the trolls. And what happens is when he's trolling trolls, they're engaging.
That's hilarious.
And when they're engaging, the more comments, more likes, more shares you get, the better your video does. So he pre-ops the trolls to get them to do what they do. And it is so genius. I absolutely love it. I will say that if you don't have emotional intelligence, or if you have trauma in the ways of people being mean to you, do not do this. Or find strategies and therapy now, because people are absolutely evil.
They really are. Like, don't get into social media at all if you don't have a backbone, or if you're just not prepared for the amount of negativity you'll see, because I can tell you it's tough. Some days I don't actually respond to our comments on purpose. I have somebody else on my team do that, so that at least there's a degree of separation there. They're not going to be as offended by people making fun of me as I would be, right? So that's what I would say for business owners. Like, don't respond to your own comments. Have somebody else on your team do that. Hopefully that they're able to handle it. But I love the idea of engaging trolls. I gotta brainstorm how we can do a better job of that.
Now, what I wouldn't do though as a business is I would not go negative to negative.
No, yeah,
like you're just empowering bad people if you do that. And it's not about the subject or the thing. Don't engage with people that are evil. There's no benefit. But if you can get them talking among themselves on silly stuff that doesn't matter, that's great.
Yeah, that's a solid tip. I have another channel ready here for you to pull up. This one I think is in the fitness space, so quite different, I think, than any that we've looked at. Really great that we're getting so many submissions. I can kind of like try and pick ones that are topically different from each other. This one looks fun.
Okay, so
a lot of videos. Holy 1.4 thousand.
Yeah, so the first thing I'd say about the title and kind of branding and concept is there's too much going on. I still, after 10 seconds, don't know what you do. And with all due respect, you have the pure body type training, pure motivation fitness studio. You got online, corporate, professionals, parents. In my opinion, I'm actually creating a midlife adventure channel. I'm launching it early next year. And I'm only targeting men over 40. That's it. That's my only demographic. It's my only thing. If you are everything to everyone, you will become nothing to no one. So the biggest thing I would say is strip off all your brands and all the things you do and do one thing better than anyone else in the world, and make sure that that one thing matches your purpose, profit, and passion. So as a 49-year-old, I'm always looking for a fitness trainer that can help me achieve my goals, and I want that person to be a man because I'm a man. It's not like, it's not sexist or anything. It's just like, he's like me. He cares about fitness and health and well-being, and I want to be like him. Seeing Dimitri obviously is very, healthy looking and fit, muscles. So I would highly recommend that you really hone in on your audience and your what and why. If your message at the top, all it said is, I help mid-age men become the best shape of their life, you might even got $1,000 out of me today. Honestly. And I'm not saying you would have, but the idea of you getting $1,000 out of me today would have been thousands of times greater if you said exactly the what and why, who you help, why you help them, and why it matters. I will say some of your thumbnails are phenomenal. Very, very good thumbnails. And how to stay lean and strong after 40, my proven training route. Great thumbnail, great title. I'm going to go in, 20-minute video. you have within the first couple of seconds, you show that you're like a real professional athlete. You show the trust, transference, and personal branding. And honestly, I'm confused. It seems like you have a good title and thumbnail. It seems like you have a decent video here, and you're really not getting views. So if you are listening to me right now, reach out to me. I'm sure the Joyce team can help me, and I would love to get to the bottom of this. You are doing all the work. You're not necessarily getting the benefit. And if I had to guess, it's because you talk about too many things and you're a master of none. That's if I had to guess. I will say, like, I specifically train dumbbells and I only watch dumbbell YouTubers. So if you're doing calisthenics or gym stuff, like I would say that the niching down of fitness YouTubers is so extreme at this point that I don't think you can be all the things to someone. So on the surface, I feel like if you really focused on your audience, if you really focused on one type of working out, you're going to do 100 times better.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I know it's hard sometimes. It's easy to say there is a problem, but actually figuring out like the root or why of the problem sometimes takes a little bit more than you can do on the spot in 30 seconds. So I see that a lot. We see that with SEO too as well, right? It's easy to tell that a business isn't getting traffic. It takes a lot more sometimes to figure out why. But yeah, this is, I agree with you. These thumbnails are really good, at least the current ones.
Very cool.
All right, I think we have enough time for one more. So I'm going to give you this one here, the Academy for Professional. I think they are a marketing for painting contractors YouTube channel. All right, so
275 videos, almost 10,000 subscribers.
Lots of effort here.
A lot of effort. So the first thing I would say is your titles and thumbnails need some work. And I would say that if your audience is like professional painting contractors or professional painters, I would actually have that first in some of these videos. So like 3 steps to calculating an accurate, profitable painting estimate or quote. I would probably have started it with something more like painting quote. In fact, if you don't mind, we can do this real quick live.
Mm-hmm.
One second. So what I did is I put in their existing title, and it is based on other things. So I'm not sure how well it'll do right now. It's using one of my AI models I've already created, but we'll just see. And basically this is using my 12 title rules that we saw earlier. And it's using deep research to understand the best approach to making viral potential titles. My guess is what's going to happen is the AI is actually going to put things like painting estimate at the very beginning.
While you're waiting for that, I have a question here, so we can take this.
Sure.
Maurice was wondering, so it's kind of going back to when we were talking about negative comments and YouTube trolls. Do you block negative people?
Yes. If they're very negative, or if they, there's a lot of concepts here. There's one called Blacklist keywords. And I have a list of about 3,000, anything to do with hate or, terrorism, or, there's a, sexism, if there's any like bad words or anything hateful or harmful, I automatically block every one of those comments with blacklist keywords that you can set up in YouTube. And with AI and some other tools coming out on YouTube, it's a lot easier to basically not let these comments go out. You can have them pretty much moderated before they go out. So what I would be careful about is making sure that hate and harm, bad words, don't get onto your YouTube channel like by default. You have settings set up like don't show this without approval, and you can do that in YouTube settings. So the original title was 3 steps to calculating an accurate profitable painting estimate, quote or bid. And this is what it came up with. Painters, this 3-step secret will double your painting profits. Pretty freaking good. Like that's the difference between a few hundred views and a few thousand views. I promise you. Stop losing biz, this genius strategy for profitable painting quotes. Your painting estimates are wrong. Here's how to fix them and how to win jobs. These are speaking. I don't even do painting, but now I want to, like it's like inspiring to be like, oh, wow, these are really good title ideas. So by using AI the right way and using tools like, the type of tool that I created, it's going to be a lot easier. I would argue that 80% of my time for my personal channel is faster now because I'm using my own rules and a robot to help me come up with this stuff. So the original title was a 69. These are probably 98 or 99s, and they're very good. And at the bottom here, you get all the rules that we base this off of.
I noticed that hack comes up in the list. Man, I don't know if you remember my original reaction when you were like, you should put hack in your video titles. I'm like, gross. Like, I actually throw up a bit every time I have to record a video that uses the word hack because it just feels cringy. But, the data does support that those videos, I can tell you, our best and top performing videos have the word hack in the title. It crushes me, but it's true.
Yeah. And I think, all the channels we saw today are absolutely amazing. Like you guys are doing great. I know it's a little harsh. Sorry, Dimitri. But
you're polite about it. It's okay.
Yeah. I want you guys to know that, showing up and putting out videos is 10 times harder than making them better.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And like, honestly, you guys have gotten a huge value with this. I mean, we've been paying Jeremy for years to get this kind of advice and you're getting it for free. So really, Jeremy, like, I cannot thank you enough for taking 2 hours of your time to help all our viewers on your own time. It's been really, really awesome. Obviously, I want to do another shout out to your new tool because I know this just came out, right? Like this is brand new. We just started using it. I believe my team has had great success with it so far. So I'm sure I'll be giving you lots of feedback as time goes on. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Jeremy's tool, like honestly, this is really great. And the audit is free. What is the cost? Obviously, there's free audit, but what is the cost for the tool?
Right now, we're until the end of the year, we're doing a founder sale. So it's 66% off. So the standard is 66% off at $197 a year. And the pro is 66% off and it's $397 a year. And you get anytime coaching.
Wow. All right. That is really not an expensive tool as somebody that spends I think we spend about $100,000 a year on tools. So that is not even close to some of the top dollar amounts that we spend on our own stuff for marketing. So really great deal. Thank you, Jeremy. We'll be sure to, again, put this on. This will be live on our YouTube channel permanently. If you have questions, we'll do our best to reply to all the comments that come in after. So thanks for coming. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.